2, 1, go.
Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County Branch of the American Association of University Women. Today we are hosting a conversation with Regan, Supervisor of the Town of Potsdam, who will bring us up to date on several time issues. These WCKN conversations are a production of North Country Matters, produced here in the studios of WCKN on the campus of Clarkson University. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County Branch of AAUW, the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, and the media and communication students here at Clarkson. So, let's get started. Marie, thank you so much for joining us today. Last time you were here, we were talking about all of the construction that was going on in the new town hall and the old town hall. Would you bring us up to date on where we're at with both of those facilities?
I certainly will, Donna. I'm happy to say that we have been in the new town hall since February. It's all completed. I think it's beautiful. People are utilizing the community room very often. And the best thing I can say about that building is that it's all paid for. I think that people will be happy to hear that. The new town hall has so many aspects in it that we didn't have in the other building. It makes it so much more private when people have to talk to the assessor or to the town clerk when they're getting marriage licenses and that sort of thing. There are facilities for men and women to use the bathrooms, which were non-existent in the other building. We have an elevator to bring files down to the basement. We didn't have an elevator in the other building. And it's easy to come into the front and the back because there are absolutely no stairs and a slight grade so that people who are handicapped can come in and out very easily. I think it's bright, it's light, it's safe. There's enough room for expansion down in the basement. When we were first doing construction, we knew that we had to dig for the basement, and we didn't intend to have a full second floor. But soon the engineers told us that if we just dug a little deeper, we would have so much more room for growth downstairs. So about a third of the basement has room for files and the mechanicals. But the rest of it, 2/3 of that, there is room for expansion for the next 50 years. There could be several offices down there. And we built it so that there are windows that shed light so it isn't dark and dank.
You've got natural light down there.
Yes.
I've been in it, of course, several times, and it is a lovely facility and, as you say, very versatile. A lot of different groups can use that, and you can reposition the space very nicely. I think one of the nicest occasions I was in there recently was for primary day, and it's such a nice space to do the voting in. We were in, no offense to the new Snell Hall, but we were in the old Snell Hall before, and it was kind of dark, and this was a very, very nice space to be doing that in. So
the workers particularly liked it because there's a little snack kitchen right off where the voting took place. So they were able to take their breaks and eat in there, and they are anxious to come back in November and use the facility again.
I'm sure they are.
And that brings me up to the community room. The boardroom and the community room are separated by a wall that pushes back so that you have one large space that would accommodate a little more than 100 people with tables and chairs. And we are renting out either the entire space or just the community room side to a variety of groups. We've had everybody from TOPTA to subcommittees of Cuomo's Economic Development Council committees there. We have had, of course, as you said, the primary election. We've had people from the Health Initiative. About 2 weeks ago, we had a group of people who were diabetic, and people from the Health Initiative were talking to them about how they could keep their blood sugar down and how they could make nutritious, quick meals. And then they prepared lunch in the kitchen and then served lunch to those people. All kinds of people and groups. We've had a shower Somebody just asked if they could, rent it to have a family shower. And there are rules and guidelines, but we're making it very inexpensive. Most of the time, it only costs about $15.
That's
it
very
does cost
reasonable.
more if you're going to use the kitchen, of course. That has not been utilized as much yet, but we're hoping that soon we'll have something like Rotary breakfasts or something like that.
Well, we've advertised it. Maybe the Rotary will call. So, well, let's move away. Oh, well, one more thing before we move off of the new town hall. Tell me about the gallery space that we have for the Arts Council.
Well, we learned a few weeks ago that the Arts Council was having trouble, paying their rent on Market Street, where they had sort of a display area and a gift shop. And they, I think, are moving into the old Snell Hall pretty soon. But in the meantime, they had no place to have an art gallery where they could show on a rotating basis, the things that are produced by local artists. So we visited with them, and at no cost to them, and it's a win-win situation for us and I think the Arts Council. We let them put up material on the walls so that they could hang pictures, and the first display is up right now. It has to do with peace, and there are very, very interesting, it's a very interesting exhibit, and we think that this is going to bring people into the town hall, make them realize that it's a building that we want the community to enjoy and to use, and the Arts Council is very happy, and we think it looks lovely.
It does. I've seen it. Are you going to have rotating exhibits? They're going to be
Yes.
constantly changing what will be there on the walls?
It's my understanding that about
Right.
every 6 to 8 weeks,
Oh, nice.
there'll be a different display.
Now, let's go back to the old town hall for a minute, which really doesn't look like the old town hall at all because you've done such a tremendous amount of renovations over there. Can you give us, tell us about the courtroom and how that all functions?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that there were some people who really felt that we did not proceed maybe the way they liked. There were people who said that, in 2009 or whatever it was, the town hall issue was decided because at referendum, the people voted against it. We did a straw poll at the end of that, and we found out that there were a multitude of reasons why people voted no. Some of it had to do for a fear that their taxes would rise. Some people didn't like the location. Others felt that it would leave a hole downtown if we got rid of the old town hall. And we understood those things, and we always felt that when one door closes, another opens. And we knew that the old town hall was not a healthy building. We knew for sure then that it had asbestos. I think if anyone has read the paper in the last months, they understand there were also oil spills and a multitude of other
You had
things.
dampness, mold
Yes.
down there. It was a mess.
All
Yeah.
things that had to be cleaned up. In addition, it was too small, and it didn't meet state specifications. We had no elevator for the handicapped. We had no private jury room. We had no place for the lawyers to meet privately with their client before they went to court. There were just so many things that they did not feel were sufficient to have a good court. So we proceeded to write a grant, and we were very, very happy when the State Historical Society decided that they would fund our grant. So we could spend up to about $600,000, and we would be recompensed for approximately half of that. And so we proceeded. And if you go into that building now, you'll see that there is an elevator. There is a jury room. There is a place for the lawyers to meet with their clients. Prior to our renovation, both judges were housed in a room that was about as big as a broom closet. Now they each have their own office and their own computer. There is an office as you enter the lobby where people are served by the court clerk who can take fines and give advice to people who need to deal with the court. There are also 2 empty offices where we hope that at the end of the village judges' terms in 2 years that they will move into the town court so that the village court and the town court will use the same space. That will be up to the village, but when there were dissolution studies, that was one of the suggestions that was made.
So you've designed that building to take extra space,
Yes.
extra people if you need
Yes.
to, which is like the new town hall,
Right.
good long-range planning,
Yes.
sure.
One of the things, most people don't need to go to the court. And so, unless they make an effort, they may never see the upstairs. But if they ever watch Judge Judy, our courtroom on the second floor is as beautiful as hers is.
You're probably going to be having visitors now after you say that, Marie.
No, it really is nice. It's dark wood. We had some great craftsmen who just did a beautiful job up there. And the benches, those orange plastic benches that came out of the 60s, we sold, and we used that money to buy what looked like church benches. So all the wood is dark wood. And one other thing is sort of interesting. Sometimes you have to compete with the dictates of 2 state agencies. New York State court system wanted us to get rid of the windows in the courtroom for fear that some assassin or some terrorist might shoot through the windows and hurt the judge or the lawyers. Hopefully that would never happen in our small town, but I understand their concern. On the other hand, when we wrote the grant, we agreed to keep the building as historically accurate as possible. And SHPO didn't want us to get rid of the windows. So we had a lot of correspondence and a lot of talking back and forth. And finally, a compromise was struck. And so upstairs now, we have those long windows are covered with a white sheer curtain and then heavy red velvet drapes that can be pulled shut during the court system when court is in session. And it looks beautiful.
Well, good. I'm glad that you were able to come to a compromise with 2 competing state agencies, which, as we all know, isn't the easiest thing to do. Marie, let's jump for a moment, if we may, to what you can tell us about the recreation program. We know that the village is trying to get out of providing recreation services, and the town, of course, feels that's a very critical service to provide to our young people. So how is that process coming along? Can you give us a little thumbnail sketch?
Well, there were some people who thought that this should be a very simple thing to enact. But the town budget is very complex in the way it's structured. There's a part that everyone pays, both villages and the town outside. That's called the general portion of the budget. There's another part that just the town outside people pay. And when we started to try to figure out how we were going to make this turnover, Norwood did not want to be part of the changeover. Understandably, they have access to an arena. They have their own bus set up, their own beautiful beach. When the youngsters get old enough, they're going to play for the Norfolk High School, not for Potsdam. They wanted to keep their recreation set up entirely separate from Potsdam's. So we didn't have any category where just the village and the town outside had a line in the budget. So we had to contact state agencies, and we finally were given permission to create a park recreation district. And only the people from the village and the town outside will pay for it. Now we're trying to project what the budget will be, and of course it's not for this year, it's for half of next year. It's very complicated. Right now we're working back and forth with the village, trying to get a memorandum of understanding. There was some concern about whether we would pay for all of the retirees who had come before that had been funded by the village. People who retired. And then we had to take care of the present employees. We also wanted to know what assets were going to be turned over to us. There were a number of things that just had to be ironed out. We're almost ready to sign the MOU. After that, we'll have public hearings. And if people are concerned, once they learn what the price will be, they will have an opportunity to get a number of signatures, not too many actually.
It's like about 140 or 150.
I think I've heard
it's very small,
140,
yes.
to petition for a referendum.
Right.
And then they'll be able to decide if they want to do it or not. And I just, our town board feels that recreation is so important
Right.
for the young people. And so many opportunities will be lost if we don't provide a good program. And also, it keeps a lot of kids busy.
Yes, it does.
And it keeps them occupied in positive ways. And the other thing is, I think that we've missed an opportunity for years not to utilize the arena in ways that adults could enjoy it more.
Right.
I mean, I think if we improved the upstairs, if we got an elevator, there are all kinds of ideas, from bridge clubs to just a place to have coffee.
Right,
That,
as a recreation, or as
Yeah.
a community center.
Yes.
Marie, this would not change how the town beach is
no.
funded, which is out in Postwood Park. That's
No,
a separate
that's,
item.
no, it isn't separate.
isn't.
That's always been funded through the entire rec, just the way the one at Pine Street, we fund that. So no, that will all be under one budget, so we'll see. Let's say that we're about halfway there.
Well, that's
we're
better
working-
than where you started out,
Yeah,
wasn't
and we're
it? Yes.
working very cooperatively and hopefully,
You mentioned the complexities of the town budget, and so if you would like to take a few minutes to talk about that. One question I have, and this is just sort of a general question, the governor, of course, has put in a 2% tax cap for municipalities and schools that prevent you from going above that level without a supermajority. And my understanding is that that 2% is actually going in effect for the next year, actually going to be less than 2%. So how does that impact your budget planning when you're trying to come up with figuring out what you can raise from taxes and what you need to spend? How does that work?
it doesn't make it easy. But I do think that in some ways it's a very good thing, because no one wants to pay more taxes. People want services, they understand that they cost money, but times are not easy today. And many people are very strapped. So while it does make it difficult to work through your budget, it also, I think, makes people who ask for money and we who are putting the budget together realize that there's a limit on what we can spend and that we should try to conform to it. We are working now on the budget, and what we do is, in the end of August, we send out letters to everyone that we fund, from the fire departments to the senior citizens to anybody that we give money to, and ask them to tell us what they need for the next year and to show us their new budget, and if it's an increase, give us a rationale. And then, of course, we can't always give what people want, but we try to keep it as close to their needs as possible. Well, this time, knowing that we have the 2%, we've written some letters that are a little different than usual. We're saying we're constrained by the 2%.
Right.
Please realize that we would love to help you more, but don't ask for more money unless you really can show us that you need it. And people have been very cooperative. So we're doing our tentative budget, and we're trying to not give anybody more than 2 or 3%. They do let us get some reductions because we have no control over retirement and hospitalization, and those go up much more than 2%.
They certainly do.
But the reduction is not as much as the increase. Do you understand what I mean?
I do. I think it would surprise people to learn what variety of groups actually are funded by the town, because probably most people think that this is a sort of thing where it's the town highway department and the office workers and things like that, without realizing there's a lot of community-based groups that actually do get
It's
help.
the Norwood Recreation, the Norwood Museum, Potsdam Recreation. We fund 4 fire departments: Hanawa, Norwood, West Potsdam, and Potsdam. The Golden Agers, all these groups. I could go on, but there's
there's a variety of them that
Yes.
I think people are not aware of. In our few remaining minutes, Marie, I want to especially take a minute to let everybody know that you have been named as the recipient of the Silas Wright Award, and you're going to be honored at the Democratic Fall Harvest Dinner on October 11th. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman is going to be the guest. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Silas Wright Award means? Not only to you, but just describe it in general so we understand just how special it is, my friend.
Well, let me tell you that I feel truly honored. In some ways, I think maybe it's because I've been around so long that maybe they think that pretty soon I'll be bowing out and they ought to give me a last hurrah. I don't know. But I'm very honored at this privilege. It's given to somebody who has given to the community and who they think deserves it. I hope I do. I'm delighted all my children, all 5 of them are coming from North Carolina to New York City. They're all going to be here. My siblings are all going to be here. Some friends. It's really special to me, and I'm very, very grateful that they've done this.
Well, you have certainly served your community very well over the years. In fact, you, I know, didn't actually get into elected politics until you had retired from your years of teaching at SUNY Canton, and that is really the pattern for a lot of women who decide to go into public office. They may skirt around the issue and maybe sit on an appointed board or something like that, but they often don't think about running until they are retired from their work and from their family responsibilities, which of course are all good preparations for public service. So I'd like to know what your advice would be to any woman of any age thinking about getting into public office, and what advice you might want to give to somebody thinking about that, and how rewarding you found it.
I found it extremely rewarding. I've always told, I have 4 daughters, and I've always told them that you can have it all, but not at the same time.
That's good advice, Mom.
And I stayed home for the first 14, 15 years of my marriage, and then went back when all my children were in school and got my master's and a little bit more education after that, and then started teaching. And the first years that I was teaching at Canton, I taught. I hope I worked hard at my job, but I didn't get involved too much in campus governance. After my children grew and were out of college and I was still there, I began to volunteer for committees, and I represented the college as a faculty senator, and I was on the search committee for Dr. Kennedy's choice when we made an excellent choice when we picked him.
I think the entire North Country community would agree with you on that one.
Yes, and I became the head of faculty governance for about 6 years. So all of that sort of prepared me for going into the political arena, but I really did not contemplate that at all. And when I retired, there was a position that was open on the town board because someone had taken a job that prohibited them from continuing as a council member. And I was contacted by a couple people and said, would you be willing to fill in for the year? And it was a surprise to me, but I said, yeah, I'll try that. And I enjoyed it, and the next November I ran, and that's 18 years ago. And it's been very rewarding. I have met so many good people, and I realize more and more that anything that you do, you don't do alone. Right. If you've done any good, it's because there were so many people that worked behind you, and they don't get the credit, but they're doing a lot of the work. And I think we've accomplished a few things. I mean, we've written a grant for Postwood a few years ago, and we're able to renovate the bathhouse. We've gotten street lights down in Unionville that never had them. My bucket list had a new town hall. A lot of people think I wasn't very nice about that pushed it too hard, but I knew it was needed. And now that it's done and it's paid for, I think people will realize that it's a good move.
It's a real showplace, and as you say, with the kind of planning that went into it, it's going to serve our needs in this community for a very long time to come. And I agree with you there. Marie, thank you for your time today and for talking to us about these issues. You have been a wonderful public servant, and I know you have a few more good years left in you. And congratulations on your Silas Wright Award. I think they picked the perfect person for it.
Thank you.
And we're going to continue these conversations in the next few weeks, and we hope people will come back. We're going to be talking with politicians and candidates for public office, and talking about education things, and it's important to remember that our North Country matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
Oh, we're off.